Hello everyone, Zrtec here once again with a review over stat weapons assault rifle wise. I'm doing this because I want to categorize everything before Ballistic shuts down. So this is kind of a last minute kind of thing where I didn't get to review some weapons, so I figured that I can actually just tell you guys which weapons are better than others. I don't have specific gameplay to back it up because there's no way I will be able to get everything. But I just want to show you guys the top tier weapons to also the worst ones in assault rifle category. So at number 18 is the Executioner. I rated the Executioner 18 just because it has absolutely poor iron sights and it has a very low power for the amount of fire rate it has. And I would consider the range to be more of a kind of mid top tier, but you can't reliably aim with the iron sights, and hip firing isn't all as well too reliable. So this is by far the worst legendary you can get in Ballistic right now. For number 17, I put the Enforcer. Some of you may notice that it actually may have worse stats than the Executioner. I know that for a fact, but the red dot sight actually makes the Enforcer better than the Executioner. The iron sights is just unbearable to work with. Even though you do get a little bit more damage, it's just not worth it for the price of actually sacrificing that red dot sight. At number 16, I have the Ranger. The Ranger is basically a downgrade of the Hunter, but has a red dot sight instead of kind of a scope kind of thing. And which is why I put this lower in the list compared to that, because it has a silencer and the tactical scope. For number 15, we have the Hunter. The Hunter is basically just an upgraded version of the Ranger. Just one less power and just a little bit less range, but it makes up because the scope is actually pretty good, especially for getting down people who are at longer ranges, which kind of assault rifles are kind of meant for. The fact that the Hunter also has a sound suppressor, it works really well because you want to be kind of hidden away from the radar, and the radar is a very powerful thing if players actually pay attention to it. For number 14, I have the Widower. The Widower has a pretty high power for it, but it doesn't make up for it from the actual fire rate. This is one of the lower ranged weapons, and it's kind of hard to use it, especially since it has a scope that's meant for long ranges, but it doesn't really work out that way. It would be more of a short mid-range gun. In comparing it to other guns like the Banshee or the Hounter or whatever, this gun just isn't as good and doesn't compete as well. For number 13, we have the Coyote. I put this one above the Widower just because it has a little bit more range and actually has a shotgun for a little underbarrel. I figured out that this would be better because more range basically means more damage, which why the Coyote is better stat-wise compared to the Widower. For number 12, we have the Violator. I put the Violator higher on this list because of the fire rate supports the power quite well, as well as the range is a little bit more higher than the other guns that were previously mentioned. Also the holographic sights are really good for aim down the sights. It's really comfortable for some users and some comfortable for not. For number 11, we have the Commando. It's basically an upgraded version of the Violator, has more damage, and it has also a grenade launcher. The grenade launcher in free-to-play right now is actually pretty powerful for people who don't have the explosive damage resistance, which is why the Commando outsmarts a lot of the guns previously mentioned. For number 10, we have the Banshee. I rated the Banshee at 10 just because of the extremely high damage output for the fire rate it has. It also has one of the top tier ranges. You have 50 meters compared to other guns which actually have a lot below that. So this is why that this gun comes into place where it's actually better stat-wise than others. The Banshee and the Hounter have really bad sights to aim down, I guess. So these are more hip-fire weapons, but stat-wise, these are better than most of the weapons here on this list. For number 9, I have the Hounter. It's basically an upgraded version from the Banshee itself. It has a little bit less fire rate, but a little bit more power. Therefore, you're making more damage per bullet. And the grenade launcher also makes this gun a little bit more better since grenade launchers are pretty powerful. And the clip size is actually pretty nice compared to the Banshee as well, which is why this one is better than that one. For number 8, I put the Interrupter. This may be a little bit weird of a choice, but I put this one here, and it seems like the stats are a little bit more comparable to the Executioner, except these sights are quite manageable compared to a gun like that. If you're good at using these sights, then this would actually be a better stat weapon than some of these shown on the list here. For number 7, I put the Stalker. I put the Stalker here because it has a very high fire rate for the amount of power it has. It has a somewhat lower range than other rifles here, but it works out well because the fire rate works extremely well, especially if you're running with a marksman or a vanguard that has some fire rate skills to it. For number 6, we have the Rogue. It's basically a upgraded version of the Interrupter by having a sight and upgrading its fire rate. Personally, I don't like this weapon because I can't aim with the aim down the sights, but it fires extremely fast, and I probably can't aim it because it has such a high fire rate, and I usually miss a lot of the bullets that I spray, and that usually kind of shoots all of your ammo, and you're gonna have to refill a lot if you can't exactly aim correctly. At number 5 comes the Bandit. I would say the Bandit is a very high power gun for the amount of fire rate it has. This is a very strong gun, and it works quite well for longer ranges, and the scope actually supports the range it has. So this is one of the best guns, and basically kind of a downgrade of one of the better weapons in the game. For number 4, I put the Prowler. I put the Prowler higher than the Bandit in this list because the grenade launcher is so strong. It has a lot of utility, basically wiping out campers in small little concentrated areas, which is why this would be one of the better weapons to use in the game. It's not used that much from players, but it's kind of like one of the small hidden gems if you don't really have one of the other top 3 guns. For number 3, I have the Blackguard. The Blackguard has one of the biggest clips for an assault rifle in the game, and it has a relatively high power and fire rate for the gun itself. This I would definitely recommend using for a marksman because of the amount of ammo he carries around with this gun. For number 2, I would say the Strife would be there. The Strife basically has a little bit more range compared to the Blackguard, a little bit less of a clip, but the accuracy is really good, especially for longer ranges. So this can be used for getting at snipers, but it's not to the point where it's going to be competing extremely well against like bolt action rifles if they shoot you first. But this can actually mow them down somewhat competitively if you see them first, kind of thing. And then finally at number 1, the Marauder. I think this is the best gun in this game. Has the best range, pretty much the best power, good fire rate, scope, accuracy. This is pretty much an all-in-one gun you want about an assault rifle. This is not heavily used by a whole bunch of players, but should be, since this is the best gun stat-wise. And scope, I think this is probably the best gun itself. So thank you for watching my stat review on the assault rifles, and I will have the rest of the tier weapons soon. I'm hoping I could get this all done before the free-to-play version is done, and I'd really like where this is going to go, and I hope you guys appreciated it, and probably leave your feedback on what's your favorite gun. Anyway, Zrtec's out.